Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode. Gosh, I can't remember. What number is this? 796? Is that right? Can't remember. It's been a few minutes since I typed it in the into the uh, YouTube title. So, sorry, I'm trying to find a tweet that I wanted to touch on today. So, what is up? Happy Saturday. Welcome to the weekend. Here we are. Kind of a semi-rare Saturday show because twice a month I'm doing a card show, whether it's in Madison or Rockford, and then every once in a while I do a third show, but I try to keep it at two. I'm kind of a homebody. Remember, I come from the couch people, so I like kind of sticking around home, especially now the weather's getting cold. It's cold. It's cold. We've been in the 30s overnight the last couple nights. That's cold. So there's frost on the ground this morning. So it's probably close to that 32 degree mark. Where are we at temperature wise? It's cold. Where are we at? 37. Low of 32 overnight. So we had frost. It's cold. Victor is watching from an IHOP in Peoria. Victor, are you in the going to the Peru card show? I'm curious if that was today. The last couple weekends, it's like, man, I should go to a card show. But I've got the big one in Loves Park next weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So I'll be, I need to book a hotel room because I'll be there Friday night and Saturday night for the 2-day show, and then the Madison Card Show is in 2 weeks from today, October 22nd. So I'll be busy the next 2 weekends. So here we are. So I'm going to do some shipping. I've got the cleaners come Monday, and my rec room's an absolute disaster because I opened a case of Pro Debut. I ended up opening about half of my WWE Heritage hanger boxes because I did have some interest in people wanting singles. So I did want to get those. So did some ripping and sorting last night of the WWE Heritage, the Pro Debut. All of the base singles are listed in my eBay store. I'm still in the process of listing the hits like the autos and the color, and I still need to list the inserts as well. So I did not get to that yesterday. Red Light 34, what is up? Good morning, everyone from the Crane. What is the Crane? Is that like the Ukraine? That's the only crane I know. Speaking of Ukraine, this is geography, not world news. Speaking of, so I was watching Jeopardy. If you watch Jeopardy, you're discounted. No, at work running a crane. That's way different. Unless you were working a crane in the Ukraine. So Red Light 34 is in a crane. Victor's in an IHOP. We've got viewers all over the place. Love it. So there was a Jeopardy clue. I think it was the final Jeopardy clue, and I was. It was last night we were watching it. I think it aired this week. We're a couple days behind, I believe, on the Jeopardy. And I was doing dishes, and I'm like, I just like stopped, and I'm like running through the alphabet because the clue was, what is the only country in the world to have 3 consecutive letters in the alphabet? So it'd be like ABC within the name of the country. And I'm like, so I'm going through the alphabet, and I'm like, ABC, no. BCD, no. CDE, no. DEF, ooh, that might be one. But I got all the way to NOP, and I'm like, it's got to be NOP. And I'm like, Guadalupe. No, that's not it. Wait, Guadalupe is Guadalupe a country? I can't remember. So I'm like, oh, it's got to be NOP. And I look at my wife's like, I have no idea. Well, the answer was what was it? So like some of the contestants, they guessed basically like those Eastern Bloc nations around the Ukraine. Somebody guessed Tajikistan. Somebody guessed Kyrgyzstan. And then I think the third person didn't guess anything. So I'm like, I have no idea. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I think the third person said Mongolia. And I'm like, oh, Mongolia. Oh, wait, no, it's not in the right, because it had to be in the right order. It had to be like ABC, like in the order of the alphabet, in the order of the country. The answer was Afghanistan, FGH, Afghanistan, FGH. So there's your morning trivia. You already knew that, though, if you watched Jeopardy. I think that was on the Wednesday or Thursday show. So Red Light 34, not in the Ukraine, but he's in Indiana working in a crane. Victor's in the IHOP in Peru, Illinois, not the country. Working in a crane in Indiana, not the Ukraine, and Victor's in an IHOP in Peru, the town in Illinois, not the country in South America. Dan, he is in Korea, though. Dan is in Korea. What's up, Dan? George, also in Korea. And those are legit. They are in Korea. Ken, down in Texas. What is up, Ken? Victor says, no, I'm headed to the campground in Sublette to do some work and watch football all day. It is a college football Saturday, hence my Badger red. We've got Northwestern, which is a tough game. Now, the other day I said I was looking at the Wisconsin Badger football schedule, and I'm like, I think with Jim Leonard, the coaching change midseason, this is going to there's talent on this team. And looking at the schedule, they don't have like the Michigans and the Ohio States or the Penn States on the schedule. They've got like Iowa, Nebraska, Purdue. And I'm looking, and I said there was 6 games. There's actually 7 games left because I was listening to a radio show, one of the local sports stations. I think it might have been the same day I was doing this on Hobby Evolution. And they did the same thing. They're like, what do you think? What record do you think the Badgers will have? One guy said 6-1. So I think, and I said, I forgot about the last game of the season, Minnesota. So I said, I think they could go 6-0, but what did I end up saying? Like 4-2 or 5-1. But it wouldn't surprise me if they went 6-0 until the final game of the season, which is Minnesota, the Axe game, the rivalry between the Gophers and Badgers. So one guy said they would go 6-0 and then lose the last game of the season to Minnesota. And then the other guy, I think he predicted them, like he was pessimistic, but then he had them going like 5-2, I think. I can't remember. So I think like legitimately, would I be surprised if they could run the table and go 7-0? I mean, it wouldn't, like, it's possible. Will it happen? Probably not. I think 5-2. They're going to stumble in a game. I just think today this is one of those games for Wisconsin that I could see them stumbling because they've historically struggled against Northwestern in Evanston. The game's at Northwestern today. But I just think coming off the coaching change, I think the team is, when you get roughed up by Illinois, your rival to the south, when the Fibs come into Camp Randall, and the former Badger head coach Brett Bielema, I think his wife was talking more crap on Wisconsin than he was when they left. But that's like a shot. That's like a direct hit in the mouth. You're pissed off. We've got something to prove. I think they're gonna, that's why I think they're gonna win, and they're gonna keep winning. So that's my thoughts on the Badgers today. I think they will normally, I think it had no change taken place, they probably would have lost today. They're coming off that bad loss to Illinois last Saturday. Now they're going to a tough place to play Northwestern for them historically. And it's kind of status quo. And, they just have nothing to play for. Now they want to win for Jimmy Leonard, the new interim head coach. So I'll be interested to follow the Wisconsin-Northwestern game. Victor, I'm sure, is going to be watching the Wolverines today, the Michigan Wolverines. Let's see. Ken says, I know 2 people that hire cleaners and both clean before the cleaners come. Me and Cooter. It's annoying, right? But they do a lot of work that that my wife and I don't have to do, which is nice because I don't want to do that stuff. And basically the pre-clean is just, for me, it's like picking up all my crap in the rec room, like all the piles of baseball cards, because I've run out of room in the card room. And so I have to do like all my sorting out in the rec room. So it's a mess. So I have to clean that up. So that's pretty much the pre-clean. It's not like I'm vacuuming or dusting or anything like that. It's just picking up stuff. Jenny says it's 32 degrees here. What a beautiful morning. A beautiful morning for me to stay inside and watch football and ship baseball cards. Ship. Enunciation. Let's see. Terry, good morning. Terry, we've got double Terrys. I'm like Terry and Terry. Terry A and Terry M, good morning. Ken, I would love it if WVU hired Paul Christ, the West Virginia Mountaineers. He did Paul Christ work? No, he was at Pittsburgh. Herman, good morning to you. Paul Christ is I don't have like ill to say. Like, I think he's a great coach. There was something about this year's, like, they just sucked. And it was kind of almost like a lame duck. But I think he's a good coach. A lot of people like here in Madison, like, oh, he wears old sweatshirts and looks like shows no emotion. Well, just because you're emotional or not emotional doesn't make you a good coach. Like, that's one thing, like working in athletics most of my adult career. That's one thing that like always annoyed me about fans, and not all fans, like fans in the stands that would, of course it came from the losing fans, and they would be upset with the coach because he shows no emotion. He's not coaching the kids, and that was where it came from. He should be coaching. And the fact of the matter, and one of the coaches that I broadcasted games for, and I'm sure this came from, I think this was a John Wooden quote, and so the coach that I had broadcasted games for, like, lived by this rule. He's like, you coach at practice. Like, if a good coach coaches at practice throughout the week, and then when you get to the game on Friday night, the kids, if they are coached well during the week in practice, they don't need in-game coaching. Now, you make adjustments. If your coaching from the week in practice isn't working, you make adjustments. But you shouldn't have to coach every play. And I'm talking basketball. Like, okay, you're on defense. You shouldn't be, and it's like some coaches are very animated and they're very coachy throughout the game. And that's, I don't think that's a good sign. They should be coached up. They should be coached. They shouldn't need their hands being held throughout the game. And so that was one thing that annoyed me. Like, oh, he shows no emotion. Well, you don't need to show emotion. That emotion doesn't equate good or bad coaching skills. So my thought on Paul Christ, I think he's a great coach. But I do, like, I'm not upset that a coaching change was made. I was very surprised that a coaching change was made mid-season, but I think it was a good move, and I think it's going to spark because Jim Leonard's a great coach also. And like, if Paul Christ was let go or moved on to another program, I wanted Jim Leonard to be the Wisconsin Badgers head coach. Because if not, the Badgers will lose Jim Leonard because he will get a head coaching job somewhere. So he's the interim head coach, and I think the Badgers will most definitely sign him as the permanent head coach, which is the right move. Let's see. Ed is in tiny RI. Where I grew up, RI was Rock Island, but Ed is in Rhode Island. Let's see. KBO, George says, any thoughts on people paying $200 for a Topps Chrome silver pack when you can buy a hobby box with a silver pack for $200? Yeah. Some people are just dumb. It frustrates. I shouldn't be frustrated by this, but I see these, like, I saw somebody tweet this out, and he's a respected member of the hobby community, and he's like, I saw 2 silver packs opened and not a single short print. Well, no shit. Do you know the odds on the short prints? And we're talking about Topps Chrome and Julio Rodriguez. But there were 5 short prints. They weren't put in the hobby boxes, so Topps is putting them in these silver packs. Well, the reason you watched 2 breaks and you didn't see one is because there's one silver pack for every hobby box. Now, the hobby box odds, it's like one in like several thousand. I think the pack, it was like 100. Let's bring this up so I'm not just talking out of, and people can call me out. Oh, it's 1 in 117 boxes. So let's see. I know Ryan Cracknell does a great job at these odds. 2022 Topps Chrome odds. So if I go to the Beckett article, here we go. Topps Chrome checklist. We did the math on a previous show, and it's something crazy, but I want to recite the correct numbers. Let's see. So where are we at? Variations. Autographs. Okay. Maybe this wasn't the article I was reading. Let's see. So this is updated. That's the one thing I wish there was, like, and Beckett does a great job with the odds, but it's difficult to find the various articles and find like what, and you have to search. Okay, here we go. Here we are. What to expect. Okay. Nope. These aren't odds. Let's see. Does it show 225, 221? High number short prints. Okay. Super short. Okay. So I don't know. Anyway, the odds are pretty high. You're not gonna open a few silver packs and get a short print. And so what's my thoughts on people? It's dumb. I mean, go buy the hobby box. Get the what's the saying? Why buy the milk when you get the cow for free or something like that? It's like people are paying $200 for the milk when they could pay $200 for the cow. And so that's, it's like, but hey, it's on buyers. Like, buyers have to have responsibility. Like, if you do just a little due diligence, you'll find out that you can buy the cow for $200 and you don't have to pay for the milk. So just practice a little intelligence when you're buying some products like this. So yeah, I think it's really dumb that people are paying $200 for a silver pack and getting 3 cards, and they're likely going to be a couple Topps Chrome and maybe an insert. I did see I think an auto in one. So there's like nice little surprises in there, but don't expect a Julio Rodriguez short print if you buy one silver pack. Cooter, what's up? There's Cooter. We'll be looking for ways to avoid watching OU Texas today. George says I often shake my head over things like that. Dave, Roll Tide, Alabama. Hopefully, wow, what's Bryce Young's status? I haven't been paying attention this week to college football news. Hopefully, he's okay. He's a great talent. Jenny says, check out my tweet on Twitter for some good questions surrounding around where would the hobby and you in the hobby be if it wasn't for the pandemic. That was, yeah, I was actually, I saw that this morning, and I was thinking about doing that as a topic, but I think Mike, Retro Trading Card Podcast, did it, so I didn't want to steal his topic, but I will touch on that. That's a great, because I did have thoughts on that. Let's see, pandemic, where would I be? So we can talk about that this morning. Where would I be? So I came in, I'm like, what am I going to talk about today? As you know, because I used a generic thumbnail and a generic title, College Football Saturday. That's when you know, oh, Bo's doesn't have anything to talk about this morning. Let's see. Ken says, okay, 3 people talking about cleaners and the old pre-clean. Terry says, I had a nightmare last night about not being able to find any of my cards to ship. Everything was in the wrong place. Must have been the organizing talk yesterday. Ah, yes. The old nightmares of shipping. Zach and Porter, what is up? Good morning. Playing catch up. Question of the day. Do Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes use Card Dealer Pro? They've put a lot of ad dollars into a channel supporting it. Cheers. Yes. And I get text messages every flipping day from Mandela Barnes and Ron Johnson and Tony Evers and Tim Michaels and it's annoying. Those are politicians running in the November election here in the state of Wisconsin, and I just want to shut up and leave me alone. Paul Christ, Nebraska, then back to kick your butts. I don't want that either. DR says, what's up, Dan? Good morning. On my way to coach my daughter's youth soccer team this morning. So you're telling me I shouldn't yell at them. Good advice. Well, a youth soccer team, yeah, you might have to do a little in-game coaching on a little kid soccer team. Ricardo, what is up? Good morning. George says, I think it was something like 1 SSP for 117. That sounds right. That sounds right, George. Terry says, Bo, with your 8170, do you have jamming issues with thicker stock cards, Bowman Chrome, Optic, etc.? That's a great question because the 8170 works so fast. Now, I don't know how you're scanning the cards, but if you what I found to prevent so what I found was my own operating error when I first started using the 8170. It's so fast that if you just have the scanner sitting on your desk and you put cards through, it goes so fast that they may run into each other at the bottom, like in the stack, and you can prevent that. And I know Ted from Collects Card Dealer Pro, he just uses in his video, I think he just uses like a regular, like couple 800 count boxes. I used like the one of the small like accessory boxes that came with my Fujitsu. So if you have an 8170, if you kept the box, one of the accessory boxes is perfect, and it's like that tall. Like I don't know how tall that is, but it sets up, and then I cut. I don't have it in here because I have it up in my upstairs office, but then I cut like the side out of a 300 count box, and then they slide right in. But as far as like thickness of cards, now thicker stock cards, about the thickest stock of cards is like your Heritage. Now I will say, they scan like perfect. Like I love scanning Heritage cards because whatever that stock, it works so well with those feed scanners. Now, Bowman, I've had more issues scanning like a Bowman Chrome in the 8170 than I did in the 7030. And I sold my 7030 this past week, and it's like, man, maybe I should have kept that on standby to do like my Bowman Chrome only, because I haven't had much success scanning even like Topps Chrome, Bowman Chrome, because those were scanning well in the 7030. So there's a point to 7030 scanners, which I think, in my opinion, if you're looking for a lower dollar, because the 8170 is quite a bit more dollar-wise than the 7030, and you can find the 7030s like last generation. We learned that from Don on one of the videos. The 8 in 8170 means the latest generation scanner. The 7 means last generation. So you can find more refurbished or used scanners like the one I sold on eBay this past week, 7030s, and you can get a nice discount on those if you buy used or refurbished. Just make sure you're buying from a reputable seller, and you know who you're getting it from. But that's what I would recommend if you're on a budget. Go with the 7030, because the 8170 is going to set you back a decent amount of money. But if you have that in your budget, I would recommend the 8170. Let's see. Dave says Bryce Young is out. That's a bummer. Milroy going to have a big day. Tied D to dominate. Dan found an 81 top set, another Pujols Upper Deck rookie, and a Mariano Rivera Bowman rookie last night. Dan, the hits keep coming. That is so awesome. We are living vicariously through that collection. That's amazing. The 81 top set, and I know this was, I don't know if it was on one of the Hobby Evolution shows or if it was in one of Herman's videos, but my take, I like 81 Topps design better than 80. I like 81 like significantly more. 1980 Topps design is probably my least favorite of the entire 80s decade. Like between 80 and 88, those are my least favorite. So my least favorites of the 80s, and I've talked about this, and it probably changed. Like you could go back a year ago and it's like, well, you said last time this one. So 88, 80, and probably 82 are my three least favorites. Now I like most of them because that was like the decade that I really came into my, well, actually not really, because I didn't start collecting until like 88, 89. But those were like recent cards from the 80s, talking baseball. So the three least favorites, 80 and 88, are definitely bottom two for me. And 82, even though that was my birth year, is down there. I don't like the autograph placement on 82. And let me see if I have any 82 tops next to me. Well, the All-Star's a little different. So of course I've got the subset cards. Of course it's off center, Gary Carter. The rookies. Now I love the future stars from 1982. Like this is one of my favorite like designs. Even though the base, here's an Ozzy from 82 tops. And this is just actually I like this card because I like the replica auto placement. If it's down here, like most of them are down here, and I don't like that because it's too close to the name. But up here, like that's a great placement. Let's see if I have any other base cards from 82. These are just eBay store inventory. So the Gary Carter I don't mind. So here I go. I'm talking myself out of 82 being one of my least favorite designs. I think it still is. So okay, here's a couple that I don't like. Joe Morgan, and I didn't like Joe Morgan. Rest in peace. I mean, I didn't like him when he was alive, so that's what I don't get. Like, you can, if you didn't like somebody when they were alive, you don't have to like them just because they're dead, right? Harold Baines, I don't like the placement of that because it's just too busy. It's black on like a dark blue jacket. So 82, one of my least favorites, but ahead of 80 and 88. Let's see. George says, sorry. Oh, where are we at? George says, sorry, maybe it was more like one in every 800 hobby boxes. Okay. Talking about those silver or the odds on this SPs. Cooter says, I don't get buying wax when I can buy most of the modern cards I want 7 at a time for $1.13 with free shipping, which is a deal in my eBay store. Link is in the description. Buy 7 cards at regular price and get 25% off at checkout. Which, by the way, I did add all of the non-Cubs base cards from 2022 Topps Pro Debut. About 1,800 base cards that I added. And so when I list, I'm like nearly 2,000 cards listed to the eBay store. Well, it's only 188 listings because they were quantity. So 9 cards of this player, 10 cards of this player. But the collation was just about spot on. Like, there were only, I didn't, of the 188 cards that I listed, I had maybe 2 or 3 that I only had 8 quantity. Now, this was out of 11 hobby boxes because the one I opened here, I didn't throw in there. So I'm sure there was one of those cards in there, but I didn't have any player that had 11 cards. There was just a few that had 8. And then everyone else was 9 or 10 cards. So collation was good on the base cards. Let's see. George says odds were 1 in 21,000 hobby packs. And then of course there are 24 packs per box. So what's the math on that? 21,000 divided by 24. So 875 hobby box. So yeah. So basically you're getting what? You're getting a short print in 1 in 875 silver pack, something like that, because you get a silver pack for every hobby box or jumbo box too. I don't know. Terry says, I'm getting an overlapping error. Yes, I have been getting that as well. And so yeah, I do. And I think one preventative measure from the overlapping in the 8170 is you use less cards. So usually when I'm getting the overlapping error is when I have a bunch, like when I'm putting a stack in there. So shorten the stack or try to use similar, because I'm also getting the overlapping error when I'm going from like different, like almost different gloss, different finish on the front of the card. So say I'm going from like a vintage 73 tops to 2022 tops pro debut to a 2021 tops chrome, where that gloss is there's no gloss on the 73, there's slight gloss on the pro debut, and then there's gloss on the chrome. So that's where I'm getting those overlapping issues, where it goes from one card where it's glossy to the next card where it's matte. So that's where I'm getting some overlapping issues as well. So I'm wondering, and I haven't tried this yet, I'm wondering if you do like maybe just a stack of 10 chrome cards where they're all the same finish, if that will help, or if it's just they're chrome and it's kind of tough to scan. Matthew says, Cooter, where do you like to buy from? I've been trying to buy off Sport Lots. Let's see. Dan says, does anyone here pay for cloud storage yearly? If so, any recommendations? Dave wants to know, like Dropbox. Dan says, yes. There you go. I don't have any recommendations for that. Let's see. George has a cloud storage included in the Microsoft subscription. Cooter says, Bo and Jenny get 90% of my modern purchases. Greg Morris, MM7 in the batter's box of the majority of my online vintage. Dave uses Dropbox, and I'm okay with storing scans. 82 inaction cards rule. Bo's Ghost of Christmas Past is going to be Joe Morgan this year. Let's see. Zach and Porter says, I'm predicting Joe Morgan talked trash about Sammy Sosa or something, and Bo added Morgan to the list. Zach and Porter, Zach, you almost nailed it 100%. No, it was about Sandberg. Joe Morgan always claimed to be like the better. Let me see if I can find. I don't want to like say, oh, Joe Morgan said he was better than Sandberg. Let me see. There was just let's see. Some Hall of Fame debates. Okay, so here. Okay, so Joe Morgan didn't think Ryan Sandberg was a Hall of Famer, basically. So here's an article from the Chicago Tribune, 2005. For years, the perception in Chicago has been that Joe Morgan finds Ryan Sandberg unworthy of induction into baseball's Hall of Fame. That sentiment has grown in the wake of news that Morgan, an ESPN analyst and the vice chairman of the Hall of Fame's board of directors, has told Hall officials a family obligation will prevent him from attending Sandberg's July 31st induction. It would be the fifth time Morgan has missed an induction ceremony since he was enshrined in 1990. Morgan also plans to miss ESPN's Sunday night telecast of the July 31st game. Asked about Morgan's absence Wednesday on WSCR 670's afternoon show, Sandberg responded, "It seems to me like quite a coincidence, doesn't it? With all the Cubs fans who are going to be there, this is the year he has some other engagement. I've said all along when people always ask me, what's Joe Morgan talking about? I have no idea. I'm just out there playing. The fact he's not going to be there is kind of ironic to me." Given a chance to set the record straight, Joe Morgan declined an interview request through an ESPN representative. 4 weeks ago, when ESPN was promoting its Sunday night game between the Red Sox and Cubs, Morgan spoke at length about his feelings on interleague play, Cubs manager Dusty Baker, and Morgan's second Emmy Award. Although it has been written often that Morgan has disparaged Sandberg during telecasts, it's difficult to find examples. In 1996, Chicago baseball writer Dave Van Dyke asked Morgan about Sandberg's Hall of Fame chances. Morgan said, "I can't answer that because I'm on the board of directors for the Hall of Fame," which I guess that's legit. Let's see. Asked who will be known as the greatest second baseman of all time, Morgan replied, "Some people will say Jackie Robinson. Some will say Rogers Hornsby. Some will say Joe Morgan. Some Ryan Sandberg. Some Bill Mazeroski. I don't think you'll ever get 100% to agree, and that's great. But I will say that second base is a position that's underrepresented in the Hall of Fame." So, and I get that as well. So Zach, you almost nailed it. It was Sandberg, not Sosa, but that's why. Let's see. Where we at? I wonder if Diego knows that story. Here's the comparison for Morgan Sandberg. I have recently subscribed to Card Dealer Pro. Is there not a spot to put item specifics, or am I just overlooking it? Item specifics. I guess what item specifics are you looking for? Because most item specifics are filled out. When I look through, because somebody mentioned that I think somebody in the chat mentioned like my item specifics aren't I don't have item specifics filled out, and that was probably like an older listing, not a Car Dealer Pro listing. Because when I looked at a Car Dealer Pro listing, like way more item specifics were filled out than what I would have filled out, frankly. So let me see if I have. Let's see. Let me look at who's a player. Jason Dominguez. I just listed from a Car Dealer Pro upload. Here it is. So I'm going to go into item specifics about this item. So graded no, sport baseball player athlete Jason Dominguez, manufacturer and setter both filled out, Topps Pro debut. Team is filled out New York Yankees. League is MLB. Season and year manufactured both 2022. It's an original. So those are the specifics in there. And you can fill out more, like card number. Like I just choose not to fill out some of the other nuances unless Card Dealer Pro fills those out. Oh, by the way, this was also that's a bad example to use because that was Card Dealer Pro debut 2022 is not in the Card Dealer Pro is not in the Card Dealer Pro catalog. So those were basically manual uploads for me. So that's a bad example. Let me see what's now I want to find something that I used Card Dealer Pro for. And of course it's been a couple days, so it's going to be buried. But yeah, most of the item specifics are boom right there. Terry says all the columns in the spreadsheet view are item specifics. There you go. Thank you, Terry A. And to Terry M. Yes, every item specific that you need to fill out is in. Terry said it much more eloquently than I. Every item specific that is an item specific is in the spread is in Card Dealer Pro. So it's just if it's not filled out automatically by the AI, you can go in and manually fill that out. Cooter says, looking forward to Bo's Yadi Molina rants in just over 5 years. Yeah. I hate Yadi or Molina, but I've come to the conclusion he might be worthy of the Hall of Fame. So if he gets in, he gets in. I'm okay with it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm cool with that too. Let's see. What else did I have on the agenda today? Probably nothing. So last night we talked about horror movies yesterday, and somebody mentioned The Thing. So I tried watching it. My wife was taking a nap. So I came downstairs and I wanted to watch Friday Night Football. I wanted to watch some high school, my alma mater. I had a fun time. They knocked off, upset a bigger school, ranked school last week when I went back for homecoming. Last night was the other homecoming game for the team we co-op with, that high school's homecoming, and they played kind of a big rival in our conference. So I'm like, oh, I want to watch the game because they broadcast them on YouTube. It's really cool. And last night's broadcast was the local like radio team with the school's like YouTube or online camera, which is like HD. It's really fancy. Love it. And in the broadcast, the play-by-play, he said, what did he say? Oh, so at the very end of the broadcast, I'll circle back, Cooter. At the very end of the broadcast, he said something I've never heard before. So maybe somebody in here has. Cooter's probably heard this term. So and let me just give you a background. So the play-by-play announcer, super nice guy. His name's Bob McKee, and what I was disappointed with in his broadcast last night, he did not say what he's like known for. Well, Tim, there's no two ways about it. The Titans are really going to have to throw it out here in the second half. There's no two ways about that. That's his thing. There's no, Tim, there's no two ways about it. So at the very, he said it once, or I caught it once or twice. So at the very end of the broadcast, though, he said something I've never heard before. It's homecoming. And he goes, well, Tim, you know what they say, at homecoming, the punch is always sweeter and the girls are always prettier. I've never heard that before. What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. Well, Tim, you know what they say at homecoming, the punch is always sweeter and the girls are always prettier. I don't know what that means, but that was at the end of the broadcast last night. My team won, the Anawan Weathersfield Titans. I think it was 34-13. Fun game to watch. My follow the bouncing ball here. My brother-in-law's nephew is a sophomore running back, and he is just a freaking stud. And he bounces off defenders like a bouncy ball. And so he had a couple big runs, couple touchdowns. Fun game to watch. So now it's like, man, I don't know if I'm sure next week's an away game, so it's kind of on the other school to put out the video. So if I can watch it or not. Okay, so that's the game. That's what I wanted to watch last night, and I did watch that game. But prior to, I'm like, I'm going to throw a movie on. I'm like, oh, people were talking about The Thing in the chat yesterday. I don't think I've ever seen it, and that was confirmed like a few minutes into the movie. I'm like, I've definitely not seen this movie. It sucked. I turned it off in like 30 minutes or less. It was like I was like dominoes with The Thing, and it was the original, I think the original 1982, the John Carpenter 1982 version with Kurt Russell. It sucked. It was dumb. I don't know. I'm not into like, and here's give you a little background on my taste in movies. I'm not into like supernatural sci-fi horror type movies. Like aliens and like weird ass monsters. I'm just not into that. I'm more into the like stuff. I'm into the stuff that could really happen. Not saying, I guess, hey, we don't know what's out there in the universe. I guess it's a lot. It hasn't happened in the history that we know. So it doesn't mean it's not going to happen or it couldn't happen, but there's no precedent that we know of. So I thought it was a real crappy movie. So I turned it out 20 minutes in, 25 minutes in. I'm like, this sucks. I'm done. So I did not go all the way through, and I just have no interest. So that's my take on The Thing. Dan watched Cabin in the Woods tonight, 5.5 out of 10. That was on I've got an itch in my nose. That was on TV the other night because I turned on Joyride, which I think that's what inspired Friday morning's horror movie talk. Cabin in the Woods was on, which I forgot Ryder Strong was in that movie. So Ryder Strong, you may know from Boy Meets World, played Sean in Boy Meets World. And so I'm listening to the Boy Meets World podcast, which Ryder Strong is with Topanga, Danielle Fishel, and Will Friedle, who played Eric Matthews. So they put out like 2 podcasts a week. So I'm like, Ryder Strong was in Cabin in the Woods. Unless you maybe if he was not in that movie, he was not in that version. Okay. So he was in a more modern version of Cabin in the Woods, which I believe was a 2005. What year did your Cabin in the Woods come out? Cabin in the Woods. Oh, 2012. Or wait, is that yes, 2000. Oh wait, no. Okay. What movie was I watching with Ryder Strong? So this is the movie that I had on. Cabin in the Woods. Chris Hemsworth is in Cabin in the Woods. So what's the movie that Ryder Strong was in? So I'm confusing the Cabin Fever. Okay, so Ryder Strong was in a movie called Cabin Fever. And Chris Hemsworth was in Cabin in the Woods. Okay. So there you go. Sorry, Dan. And all your periods in there. Let's see. So Cabin in the Woods was the movie that was on after Joyride on Wednesday night. And then yesterday, I think it was when I turned the TV on, Cabin Fever was on. And I'm like, holy crap, that's Ryder Strong. So let's see where we at. Terry says The Thing is a top 5 horror for me. Saw it again in the theater a couple months ago. I think it was Terry that was dropping the Thing. I thought it sucked. It's bottom 5 for me. Card Hobbyist says the punch is spiked and dudes have their liquor goggles on. Okay, now it makes sense. And that's why Tim, the color commentator, laughed like he did, because he made kind of an uncomfortable laugh, which made me think it was probably not appropriate for a high school homecoming broadcast. Now it makes sense. Thank you, Card Hobbyist. Now it makes sense. That's why there was an uncomfortable laugh from his broadcast partner following that on a high school football broadcast. Now it all makes sense to me. Thank you. What's up, Andrew? Good morning to you. So we talked about the thing. Let's see. Jenny, we wanted to talk about where would we be without the pandemic? So that's a great question. Like, how did the pandemic affect you in the hobby? And it affected me greatly because without the pandemic, I know I wouldn't be sitting here talking into this microphone to you right now without the pandemic, because hobby evolution began during the pandemic because I didn't talk to anybody because I was working from home and restaurants were closed and sports events were closed and I had nothing else to do or very few people to actually converse with. So it's like, I've got this microphone. I used to do a morning show and I'll just talk for 15 minutes, and then 15 minutes turned into a half an hour, and then 45 minutes. And now sometimes it runs an hour and a half long. So hobby evolution would not have started had it not been for the pandemic. I would not be selling cards full time. I can guarantee you, I would not be selling cards full time because the pandemic allowed me to scale my side hustle into a business. Without the pandemic and extra time on my hands, I would not have had the ability to scale to effectively go into this full time. So I would I still be working my old job? Probably, because I was stubborn. It's like, it was almost like I quiet quit. Like, it's just like, I'm just going through the motions. Like, I hate my job, but I'm going to show up because it pays well and it's got good benefits. And so I'd probably still be there. Or if I wasn't, I'd be doing something else that frankly, I probably wouldn't be enjoying as much as what I'm doing now. So the pandemic, and I know for some people, and one thing that I learned that I think helped inspire me to build a business during the pandemic was very early on. Like the pandemic, it was almost like it was kind of like a 2-week vacation initially, where it's like, okay, we're going to be stuck in our homes for a month, and I'm just going to kick back and open some cards, and hey, I'll trading card database. I started sorting all my Cubs cards. I was logging trading card database for about a week or two, and that's what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, you know what, this thing's going to last longer than what I think initially anticipated. And I read something where it's like, better yourself during this time. Don't just sit idle. Use this extra time to better yourself, learn a new language, build a side hustle, take a master class, all these things. And it's like, you know what, that was for me inspirational. And it's like, you know what, while logging cards on trading card database, it was fun, but how does that better me in the long run? It betters my organization for my personal collection, but does that really better me? No. So it's like, you know what, that's great. And then that coincided with eBay giving store owners 50,000 free listings, because before the pandemic, eBay and even a premium store, you got 1,000 free listings and that was it. So I had 1,000 listings in my store, and it's just like, I'll sell what I sell, and when I've got open listings, I'll put more on. So I was just kind of almost at a roadblock. And so 50,000 free listings inspired me to, well, this will better me because now I'm going to have more money to buy more cards and do that. So, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're 6 months into this thing and money's coming in because the hobby's on steroids, and I'm just stuffing this money away. It's like, hey, I can use this, instead of pissing it away at a card show for, my personal collection. It's like, let me budget it, take X amount to a card show, and everything else just goes into an account where if I want to quit my job, I'll quit my job. If I want to build a business and try to do this full time, I'll have a little nest egg, or what do you call that, seed money to start that. So pandemic, I mean, changed my professional life, and got me to where I am today. Let's see. Dan says, how old is the guy who said that? 70? Probably not quite, in his 60s for sure. Definitely in his 60s. Zach and Porter says, Mr. Porter wants to know the deal with the periods. Me too. Dan, what's up with the periods? Zach says, I wouldn't be here if not for the pandemic. And yeah, like look at Zach and Porter. Zach would not have returned to the hobby. Very minor chance I would have gotten back in. Cooter says, a lot of my set needs were sourced on my personal laptop while sitting through endless remote online meetings. Right. We were able to multitask. And that's like, even though, this sounds bad, but I wasn't 8 hours a day working from home. I wasn't 100% and really, when you think about it, when you're at work, you're not 100% committed. From the time you clock in to the time you clock out, you step away and you go to the water cooler and you're talking with your coworker about last night's baseball playoff game, and all of a sudden you burn 10 minutes. You're not committed to your work in that 10 minutes. So my 10 minutes was spent. Okay, I'm going to go get another cup of coffee. I'm going to go spend 10 minutes. This is my coffee. This is my coffee, going to grab coffee or sit at the water cooler talking about sports. 10 minutes, list cards, boom, here and there, here and there, here and there. Let's see. Dan says that was to get Bo's attention regarding cabin fever. Thank you, Dan. It sparked. Well, when you said that, it made me think twice, because I recalled two different movies, because one I was watching upstairs, one I was watching downstairs. Zach says you'd have had a better chance having Joe Morgan make some random statement, even from beyond the grave, in getting Bo's attention. Right. So that's my thoughts on the pandemic. Let's see. Yesterday we the myth of remote work. I am just as efficient being remote. That's a great argument. Because I certainly wasn't 100%. And nobody is. I mean, even at the office, you're not 100%. You're pulling your phone out of your pocket. Like, that's the myth. And here's the myth. I'll counter Cooter. I'm going to counter Cooter, because the myth of being at the office for my company was staunch on, we are an office company. Like, there is no remote positions in this company. And initially, when I kind of dragged my feet going to work from home, because I thought I would be too distracted. I was not as distracted as I expected. But here's the myth of working from the office. You're pulling your phone out. You're talking at the water cooler for 15 minutes. You're taking a longer bathroom break. You're squeezing a few extra minutes at lunch. What I found is that I worked. Did I work smarter? Probably not. But in some instances I did, because I would come downstairs and I'd fire up my computer. I'd be, at home. I would fire up my computer, and my shift was basically 7:30 to 4:30. I would come down 6:30, 7 o'clock, make coffee. I'd turn my computer on as the coffee's brewing. I'd be answering emails at 7:30, at 6:30, 7 o'clock. Where when I worked at the office, I knew that I was going to be working at the office. And it's like, I'm just going to kill these emails when I get to the office at 7:35, when I'm supposed to clock in, we don't clock in, but my shift is 7:30 to 4:30. At 7:35, I'm walking in the office and then booting up my computer and then answering emails. Now, if it was an urgent email, I would look before 7:30. And if it was urgent, I would respond. If a client needed something, I would respond. But a lot of the stuff, it's like, okay, this can wait. It was priorities, where, I was on top of it faster when I worked from home. And now, did I list some cards here and there on eBay during my time on the clock working from home? Yes. Was I more efficient? Maybe. How do you quantify that? It's difficult to quantify. So, but I think there's also a myth of you're more efficient from the office, because it's almost like you're almost, especially if you dislike your job or hate your job, it's almost like you're going to find every avenue to cut corners and kill time. And it's like, oh, I'm just gonna tweet something out, or I'm gonna go to the bathroom and spend 5 extra minutes in here looking at my phone. Which ironically, the office manager at my previous job, he knew how to kill time in the bathroom. He took like 45-minute bathroom breaks. TMI. Let's see. Side note, my comment is how Porter found out Joe Morgan was dead. Porter is working through the difference levels for grief. Card Hobbyist says, I'm efficient in being consistently able to work in the last minute and consistently waiting until the last minute. There you go. I was remote prior to the pandemic in a performance-based business. Folks who don't work hard get figured out pretty quick. Definitely. That is absolutely right. And we had and that's the thing. Like with my company, we had our phones were monitored. Our internet was monitored. Like, our company knew if I was on Trading Card Database, or if I was on Twitter, or if I wasn't making phone calls, like all of that was tracked. So I was performing enough during the pandemic. So something exciting yesterday. We went to the new house, or the eventual new house. We don't take possession until the end of December. But we went with the landscape company to, kind of lay out an outline, get a budget for, or get a price point for our backyard. So that was fun. What else did I do yesterday? I got mail. So this is a card, and I hate PSA. I shouldn't say that. I hate PSA. I hate pre-war cards in PSA slabs. And this is just such a rare card that, I may never find one in an SGC slab. So this is a 1933 R308 Tattoo Orbit Jackson Riggs Stevenson. It's even hard to see. Do I have a... let's see. I wonder if this bubble mailer will. That's not going to work. Oh, what about this? Is this? That's not. Okay. Anyway, you can't really see it, but there it is. It's pretty rare. So I didn't know these existed. I think I saw somebody tweet about one of those, and I'm like, I wonder if there's any Cubs. And I still had an eBay gift card from like my birthday. And so it's been burning a hole in my wallet for 4 months. So I used that. I did pick up one other thing, another pre-war card, Cubs card, that I think I just bought yesterday. So it'll be in the mail next week. Let's see. Cooter says, did you sign the contract for the robo mower for the new house? Frank might sell you one cheap. So Frank, by the way, Frank had the TurfBot people were there yesterday. And I think he got a new machine. The robot mower that I saw plugged in his backyard looks different than what he had prior. And it hasn't been run. I think he figured out how to like stop it from mowing his grass down to the dirt. So I haven't seen it in action, although it shouldn't be in action because we had a pretty hard frost last night. So when I woke up this morning, it was shimmering ice on the grass in the backyard. And I think that was it. I mail day, the thing, eBay. Did I talk about eBay? I don't think so. eBay store link is in the description. Not much has changed since I last gave you some numbers. Impressions are still dropping. I think that's part of my sales are still way up. Like my sales dollars are up 28%, a little over 28%. My impressions are down 4%. I'm under 17 million impressions on 22,000 plus listings. But I think part of that is much of my store inventory is baseball. And here we are, it's October. Historically, October, November, December are the slowest months for my eBay store, again, because I focus on baseball. I think that may be a little different, though, this year because there are so many new baseball products being released in the fourth quarter. We just had Topps Pro Debut. We have Topps Heritage Minors coming out. We have Allen and Ginter still to be released. We have Topps Update coming up, which is usually around this time, I think, anyway, but it's a little later. We have Stadium Club, Topps Archives, which I believe releases next week, and then Bowman Draft, which is probably being pushed out into January. So a lot of products for baseball coming out in the fourth quarter. So I think that may bump up my numbers a little bit just because of the new products. Zach and Porter says, ooh, Stadium Club, that will do. So it looks like my last list here is, and it's so hard to find out. I think Blowout does a good job of keeping on top of the release dates. Some websites don't update. And I believe Topps releases the updated release dates every Friday now because it's so fluid in these current times. Stadium Club 2022. Let's see if there's a date on this. So we've got a pre-order. Hobby boxes are pricey at $180. So if I see one at like Walmart, if I see a blaster for $25, I'll pick one up, but I'm not going to buy any hobby boxes. Stadium Club, November 2nd is the current release date that's listed at Blowout Cards. So still a month out. Gosh, it's only 3 weeks out. I'm saying November like it's in 6 months. November is 22 days away, 23 days away. That's amazing. Already October 8th. That Fanatics announcement that was sure to happen last week. What happened? Nothing. It's funny. It's in we talked. Somebody mentioned in the hobby hotline chat, like over the summer. My sources, they're telling me a deal is done. It's going to be dropped in the next 2 weeks, and this was in like May. And then it's like a deal's done. It's going to be announced at the National. Nothing. Oh, it's done. It's coming out. Nothing. Oh, they're going to announce it Sunday. They're going to announce it Sunday, last Sunday, at the Industry Summit. Nothing. Well, they're going to announce it at the Industry Summit. Nothing. So here we are. It's kind of like, now it's like the boy who cried wolf. People who say a Fanatics Panini, it's to the point I've heard it so much that I don't believe you. And do I think it's going to happen eventually? Yes. But it's almost like the doomsdayers. The world is going to end on October 8th, 2022. And then you wake up on October 9th and the world is still here. So it's like the boy who cried wolf, the doomsdayers. Just keep pushing out the date. You'll be right eventually if you keep predicting, because it's kind of like it's inevitable, I think. But when is it going to be announced? And now it's like it's changing. Well, it's not this, it's not that. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. Zach says, rumors John Keating has the rights to the announcement and will officially drop on That 70s Show. John's been playing us the whole time. So there you go. Let's see. That's what I had for today. Over an hour in, talking about nothing. I will be live tomorrow morning, time TBA, as always, for the weekends. Don't forget, next weekend is the big 250 table Midwest premiere. I am a little nervous, though. I saw Ryan Nolen from Breakout Cards tweeted something that makes me a little nervous. He was at a couple shows yesterday, or at least one show. He tweeted 10 hours ago, this is from Breakout Cards, not the hobby news we want, but both large card shows, 300 plus tables, were slow today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So that's not news that I want to hear. Next Saturday and Sunday, the Midwest Premiere, 250 tables at the Indoor Sports Center, Loves Park, Illinois, just outside of Rockford. It's an hour west of O'Hare Airport on I-90. Show runs 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Sunday. 250 tables. Should be a good show. Following Saturday, October 22nd, is the Madison Card Show. It's also the same day as Wisconsin Badger Homecoming against the Purdue Boilermakers. I believe it's a 2:30 kickoff, so you can come out to the Madison Card Show at the Sheraton Hotel on John Nolen Drive, and you're just a couple miles from, just take John Nolen Drive into downtown and work your way over to Camp Randall Stadium. As Herman can attest, I've been here 8 years, and I still have difficulties navigating downtown Madison. So if you're so inclined, head down to Camp Randall, take in a college football game on October 22nd, Wisconsin homecoming against Purdue. So with that, I bid you adieu. Back at it tomorrow morning at some point in time, 9 a.m., 8 a.m., who knows? We'll see when we get there. Have a great Saturday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.